Arcane came out, and it was the best piece of media I've experienced this year. And that's in a year where the penultimate season of Attack on Titan was released, as well as a multitude of other critically acclaimed pieces of media. But none of these shows came close to the care that I can see was given to Arcane. And major props to Riot, because they knew they had something special with it. They promoted the show everywhere, from sponsoring videos to collaborating with other games. They wanted and needed the show to be a success, and I couldn't be happier that it was. Arcane was special in every way, from the facial animations that are able to express how a character is feeling without the need for words. A number of scenes relied on the animations for them to work, and they definitely were able to deliver on that end. The way that each of the characters move slightly different from one another, and whenever the fight scenes happen, you can feel the weight of each punch. It's even more impressive because each of the designs in the show are unique in their own way. You can silhouette almost all of the characters, and you're still able to point out which character is which from that alone. They were able to produce such vivid and rich designs that stick with you. I also love that Arcane doesn't just give us traditionally attractive characters. They show different ethnicities and different amounts of muscle that make these characters attractive in their own way. They are then able to place these characters in beautiful shots that evoke the emotion the scene is supposed to convey. They even change the art style a couple of times if it fits the scene. This can especially be seen with Echo, as I, personally, just love those art style changes, as the spray paint and rough art really describe his carefree attitude. To accompany these shots, they are able to pick out music that fit the scene perfectly. Like when Jinx was going crazy because Vi didn't want her to come. You can hear the music swelling up and help evoke a sense of despair until she finally realizes what she can do.
I can help them.
The 3-act structure in which they released the show I thought was perfect. It gave you just enough to be satisfied and be able to talk with your friends about what insane shit happened. But at the same time, you were counting each second until the next batch of episodes drop because of how invested you are in the series. I've watched countless reactions of this show because I just couldn't get enough of it, especially with the last scene in Act 1. I have given all this praise, but I haven't even gotten to the story and the character arcs. But before that, allow me to tell you a little about my history with League of Legends. See, I started playing the game just over 5 years ago, and I started to consume League YouTube. Channels like Bricky Orchid 8, Magikarp Usefly, and Trinomortal were on constant rotation. And it's a shame that they rarely, if ever, post League content nowadays. But that's beside the point. Years passed and I started to drift away from the game of League, mainly because I didn't have a reliable way of playing it. But I still consumed League media like crazy, all because of how invested and intrigued I was with the characters. I started asking myself questions like, why in a world full of giant swords infested with magic is a character using a lamp as a weapon? Why Jin, one of the most interesting characters, was obsessed with the number 4? Or why Azir and Zerath are what they are? And so I started digging deep into the lore, and channels like Nikrit were a big help, because as I found out, almost all of the champion stories are intriguing in some way. Take note that this is at the same time when Riot started putting out beautiful cinematics, like KDA Popstars and the Awaken cinematic. And you scroll down to the comments and you see people saying that League should just make their own anime, with how beautiful the animation was and how deep the lore is. And I agreed, but I just laughed, thinking that it was never going to happen. And then they showed the teaser for Arcane. And I was ecstatic. I heard people mention that it was going to focus on Vi and Jinx, so I thought that they're probably the only champions that would appear in the show, barring some cameos here and there. And while I was a little sad, I was still fine with it as long as they gave me a good show. And then the show finally dropped. and it surpassed all of my expectations, as Jinx, Vi, Echo, Jace, Caitlyn, Singed, Heimer, and Victor were all present. So let's get into what makes them so good. Let's start off with Vi, and I will be honest, I was not really the biggest fan of Vi going into the show. I gravitate towards more eccentric characters that can entertain me with whatever dumb shit they decide to do. But the way they handled Vi in the show made me adore her. They made her feel powerful and human at the same time, that she deals with her own problems, and the best example of this was with episode 3, where she lost a lot of the people close to her, and she let her anger out on Powder, because she was the one who caused the destruction. She realized that she should calm down, so she went to a quiet area where she could take a breather like a normal person. But unfortunately, that's what made her lose the closest person to her. Jinx was the best character in the show. They made her a loose cannon where you genuinely do not know what she's about to do next. She hallucinated the close friends to her, borderline family, and always thought that Caitlyn was out to get her. Her unpredictable mindset and colorful, exciting weapons made her a joy to watch every minute she was on the screen. Now for Echo. I need to preface this by saying that Echo is one of my favorite champions in League. His abilities and overall swagger captivated me, and he has been one of my mains ever since. So once I saw a child Echo, I was hyped out of my mind. Him then being the leader of the Fireflies was fairly obvious, but the way that they handled it was superb. They captured Echo's style through and through, by giving us these stylistic art changes from time to time. And despite maturing a ton, we could still see that he is still very young, as he couldn't bring himself to knock Jinx out. They have not even gotten to his main ability yet, but have hinted it throughout the season. I can't wait for when that happens, and see him transform even more in Season 2. Caitlyn. She is really inspiring, as she just did what she believed was right, despite her colleagues and family saying that she shouldn't do what she wanted. For Jace, I loved how he just kept on fighting with himself about what the right thing is to do. With his family background and being a blacksmith, and his intelligence that can change a lot for the city. He is a capable fighter in the council, which is something that should be really respected. His lore character is a lot more cocky than his arcane character, so I'm interested if he's gonna become more cocky in Season 2, or if they are gonna stick with his arcane self. Victor had his journey with the Hex Core, as he strived to make himself healthier so he can learn more and help the people in Zon have better lives. As he tried more and more experiments, he ended up losing Sky, and you can see how devastated he felt, especially after reading her notes and seeing that she wanted to help him. Victor is clearly struggling with what he is supposed to do right now, and he has become a very interesting character. But he is still far from the person that he is in League, so I'm intrigued with where they are gonna go with him. Heimer was good in Arcane. I'm interested in what he'll do with Echo, and I feel that he can be the bridge if Riot decides to do other lores separate from Arcane, especially if it involves the past. Singed was the perfect mad scientist for the show. All he cares about is what new thing he can discover and develop. With Singed, Arcane has a lot to work with. He has some of the most disturbing stories that Riot has created, and they already teased one with Warwick appearing at the end of the season. So I hope that they tackle more in Season 2. For the non-League characters, Arcane still gave us really good ones. Silco was the perfect conniving villain the series needed, and they made him have heart, which in turn made him more likable. Savika and her fight scenes with Vi were awesome to watch. I really grew to like Savika despite her early actions. Mel, I thought, was obviously just going to use Jace to accomplish something else. But I don't think that's true right now. Her mom, who I think is the next league champion by the way, being a major part of Noxus, can tie into some really interesting dynamics like with Swain or Draven. Speaking of that, what's next for Arcane? Obviously, Season 2 has been announced, so we're going to get more of the characters that we already have. Plus, I think Warwick is most likely going to appear and play a major role in that season. Blitzcrank, Twitch, Urgot, and Ziggs I think also have a chance of appearing, but I doubt they're going to have major roles. Orianna though, I think could play a big role in Season 2, as they hinted that she was the daughter of Singed. I could also see Camille playing a big role, as she's part of the enforcers that track down criminals in Peel Tower, and she is very strict and proper when she does that. But I am talking about something other than Season 2. I'm talking about the other regions, and which ones could get their own animated show. Noxus is probably the most likely next region, as it played a role in Arcane, and I would honestly love that, since Noxus is all about war. Darius and Draven are two very fun characters that I would love to see on screen, as well as Swain to see how he leads an army. Or they could go to Ionia and tackle Yasuo and his whole story with his brother. And some interesting characters like Jhin could also appear and create some chaos. But what I would most prefer is if they went to Shurima. Zarath and Azir's whole story is amazing. They could show their past, and then even show the present with how the city is holding up and Talia's journey. But that's just me looking too far ahead, being excited and optimistic for the future of this incredible series. That marks the end of this video. I would greatly appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. Thanks for watching, and I'd like to end this with my favorite quote from Arcane.
In the pursuit of great, we fail to do good. We have to make it right.